Hey folks, Frank Zorrilla here. Zor Capital, the 28th of November midday recap. It's roughly 11:40 in the morning. I wanted to go over not only my watch list, but the blog that I wrote today, which details for the most part what my process is during the day, or actually pre-market, which is I go through 1,000 charts. It takes me about 30 minutes. I'm looking for a specific setup. That's the reason why it takes me such very little time. I narrow down that universe of stocks to a handful of names. I go out there. I put the alerts on my in my software TC2000. I figure out how many shares I'm going to buy based on what my stop loss is, how much I want to risk, and then I'm putting buy stops in. Sometimes I'll put them pre-market, maybe with a time with a start time of 9:35, 9:45. Oh, I might do it manually as the market opens. And again, these are things that work for me. I always have buy stops above the market price, usually 10 cents above the previous day high, and that's what works for me. And like I wrote here in the blog, something that Tharp from this book, Super Traders, said: how you trade is shaped by your beliefs. You do not trade the markets. Instead, you trade your beliefs about the market. If you believe you can only make money by buying value stocks, then that's what's going to happen. If you believe you can only make money by buying, stocks above 100 or under 15, that's exactly what's going to happen. The key is that once you put your buy stop in on the My process and it gets hit, it's over. Whatever it is you can actually control, you can control when you put your buy stop, how many shares, how much you're willing to risk. But once that order gets hit, it's over. The market's going to do whatever it is it has to do, regardless if you're staring at it, if you got a minute chart on, if you got a tick chart, if you're cheering on Twitter, it's all irrelevant. Whatever it is you can control, it's over after that buy stop is hit. So let's go over the list. Here's the big winner today, Craig. Stock is up right now 34%. It was as high as 45% from yesterday's close. Unless your buy stop was in before it triggered, you probably did not get great prices. My buy stops were in. I got hit above my my buy stop price, which is fine. The stock ran from 320, which is where we got in, all the way up to 416, 42% from yesterday's close, about 25% from the buy stop. We took it, we rode it, we took some off as high as 20%. RDUS, interesting situation. This triggered as well. Buy stop was 28.68. This is what I call a possible character change. This is not your typical chart. There's been some massive insider buying here. The stock is trying to turn around. This white dotted line here is the 10-day moving average. The yellow is the 20-day moving average. As you can see, resistance. It finally gets above. This is what I call potentially a character change with these two moving averages. As they were once resistance, they can easily turn into support. ITUS gapped at the open, no go, no trigger. CCCR, no volume. Netflix triggered. Buy stop was 195.95. Trading on 198.35. So far, so good. It finally got above this 197 level, which has been somewhat of a problem for the stock over the last couple of weeks. CYRX also triggered here, printed an inside date. This is an interesting situation. They have a deal with Kite. Kite and Gilead, once they launched their CAR T therapy, these guys do the delivery. ABEO triggered as well. Buy stop here was 16.95. Triggered. Netflix we spoke about. No trigger. So we have 12 names on the list, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks triggered. And that's the name of the game. This is how the market is either going to get you into some of these names or keep you out. It gets you in by going through the buy stops. It keeps you out by not going through the buy stop. And that's just the way, that's what you do on a daily basis. You have a process. You trust that process based on what you believe in and based on your trading. I do this based on what I do when I do my studies on how it is that I trade. This is what works for me. All right, so trade them well and be well. I'm going to try to provide the link of the blog underneath the video.